Thank you for coming. Today we're going to talk about a man who was sitting on this bench. He was sitting there thinking about all the things that were going wrong in his life. So his business was failing, and because of that, his family life was also failing. His family didn't have the things that they needed. He was gone all the time. He wasn't able to give them the energy that they needed, and his friendships were failing. And also, he couldn't pay his bills. He could not figure out a solution to the problem. So he was sitting here on this park bench just feeling like a total failure, and along comes this old man. And this old man sat down next to him and just started listening to all of his problems and listened to the whole thing, the whole story, heard all of the terrible things that were happening to this man, this businessman. And after they got through all of it, the old man turned to the businessman and he said, "You know what? I believe in you, and I am sure that you can figure these out. And because I believe in you so much, I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to give you some money. And I know that with a little bit of money, you can solve all your problems." So he said, "Well, I don't want you to, you're a stranger. I don't feel like that would be right." The old man just got his checkbook out and he wrote out a check. Handed the businessman the check, and he walked off. And when the businessman looked down at his check, it was for $500,000. And the name on the check was from John D. Rockefeller. And he was like amazed, just blown away that somebody that he had just met had given him $500,000. And from that moment, his life changed. He went home and he started feeling more optimistic about everything in his life. He put the check in his safe, and he was planning to use it if he needed to, but he was really hoping he wouldn't need to. So once he started feeling optimistic, he started coming up with a lot of ideas, and he started implementing these ideas in his home, in his family, in his friendships, through his relationships, and things started going better. And he thought, I'll try some of my ideas, and if I can get through this whole year without having to use this check, then, I will just leave it there and not use it. So what happened was everything started to change. His relationship started blossoming. His business was booming. He was making money hand over fist. He had friendships. He was having fun. He was feeling very fulfilled in his life. And I just want to ask you, what do you think changed? What was the secret of what changed, even though he never cashed the check? What do you think changed?
His attitude.
His attitude.
His attitude, he's given an opportunity, so kind of along with the attitude.
Yeah. I believe that with the attitude change came a lot of confidence. He started to believe in himself, and he became a confident person. Confident people have a lot of great things going for them. They start to experience a lot more success in business. They start to have wonderful relationships with their friends, with their family members, and they really start to see success in all levels of their life. They also are just overall happier people. So confident people just are more content. They find ways to be happy about what they have. So I want to talk about a little bit about confidence and what it is that sets confident people apart. What it is that they can do that no one else can do. Some of the things that confident people do are they have a drive to start things. They are not afraid to be the first person to start, to jump up and say, "I will do it. I will try it." They will stand up for themselves. If they don't like the way they're being treated, if they don't like what's happening, they will let someone know, and they will demand respect for themselves. They are willing to say yes, sometimes when it's uncomfortable. They're also willing to say no. Sometimes it can be very hard to say no, but a confident person knows what their limits are, and they're able to let the people that they work with and that they have relationships with, they're able to let them know and set those boundaries in proper perspective. Confident people overcome their fears. It's not that they don't have fears, but they decide to surpass those fears. they decide to power through until that thing becomes no longer a fear. They believe in themselves. So they actually know, when they move forward that they are going to be able to persevere. They're not counting on other people around them to build them up. They do that for themselves. They set their bar high. They have high expectations for themselves and for others. And they stretch their limits. They're always trying to become better, trying to progress. And the biggest one is that they believe they can win. They believe it deep down, and it's a truth to them. So those are the things that you would do to be a confident person. Now, I want to finish this story. The last part of the story is that the old man, when he gave the money to the businessman, he said, meet me back here in a year and tell me about all the successes. I'm confident that by that time you will be able to return my investment to me and that you will have had success in every aspect of your life. So the businessman comes to this bench a year later with the check, the same check, he's never cashed it. And he comes at the agreed upon time, and he sits down and he waits for this old man to come. And he waits for quite a while. The old man is not coming. He's not showing up. And eventually he starts to see the old man from afar, kind of running through the park. And there's a nurse chasing him. And as they come past, the old man runs right past, and the nurse kind of stops for breath for a minute. And he says, what's going on? I'm supposed to meet this old man right here. What's happening? And the woman says, this old man is a mental patient over here at this hospital, and he sometimes likes to write fake checks, and he likes to talk like he's Franklin or John Rockefeller. That's his alter ego that he thinks he is, but he's not right in the head. So the man that's the businessman that's had this check that has changed his life realizes that none of it was actually true. There was no money. There was no help. Everything was coming from a different source. And again, I want to ask you, what do you think that source was? What do you think was the change that became so real? Do you still think it was the same thing, even though the money wasn't actually there?
I think it was the hope or the idea that the money could have gotten there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The hope and the idea that he had what it took to be successful, that he had the resources and the tools, allowed him to succeed, even though those tools were actually not coming from the money. They were coming from within. So what if you're not a confident person? What if you are an introvert? Does that mean that you can't be confident? What if you feel like you are not a naturally confident person? So I want to tell you an example that's from a friend of mine that I really like to learn from, and her name is Shalene Johnson. And she talks about a story of some little girls who, when they're about 4 or 5, and they come and they stand behind their moms, and they're like really shy, and they kind of hide behind their moms, and you ask them a question, what their name is, and they kind of, barely answer you, or they whisper really quietly. It's really cute, right? It's kind of cute. But what happens when these behaviors translate to a grown adult? I mean, if you're in a big group of people and you're kind of hiding in the corner, your body language just lets everybody know that you're not to be approached, it becomes no longer cute, and it becomes actually something that people would feel uncomfortable around you. So you start to make other people feel uncomfortable, and that's because you're uncomfortable on the inside, and that's what you're showing. So in order to change that, what you need to start with is your mindset. So a mindset for confidence starts within yourself. You would want to change the way that you're thinking about it. You would want to change the way that you think about yourself, that you are of value, that you are someone that people would want to know, that you are someone who can win all the list of those things we talked about with confidence. You're someone who can set boundaries, who can demand respect. And then you would want to prepare ahead. A lot of times for situations where you know that you're going to struggle with confidence, you might be able to think through the situation. I'm going to meet new people. This is how I'm going to behave. This is what I'm going to say. these are the things that are going to come to me today. If you're going to a job interview, this is what this is going to look like. This is what's going to happen. This is how I'm going to sit, how I'm going to stand, how I'm going to speak. You can write down questions ahead of time to fill that awkward silence. If you want to ask people questions about their family, about what they do, oftentimes it's actually a good idea to sit before an experience, write down questions. You can actually keep these in your phone just as a fallback for any time you need them to. Write down a whole bunch of questions. And these are things that you can do to approach someone you don't know or a group of people you don't know. And it will give you confidence to be able to have something to say. And the biggest thing is you need to change your thoughts. And with talking about that, I'm going to tell you a story, but these are the main things that I want you to know, that these are the things that will create a confident, well-rounded person who demands respect and has control of their life. So I want to tell you about these jars. There's been a study, and the study has been duplicated all over the world thousands of times. What they did was they took some rice, they put some rice in a jar and wrote love on it, and they put the same amount of rice from the same batch in a jar and wrote hate on it. They separated these two jars for quite a while, and each day they would speak love and kindness, and you're so sweet, and we love you so much, and you're so amazing, and you're so talented to the love jar. And they would tell the hate jar, you're disgusting, and we hate you, and you aren't worth anything. And they would tell these jars, they would just speak differently to the jars. And over time, as you can see what's happened here, the love jar, actually the rice is fairly well intact, but the hate jar, it has just disintegrated into kind of a slime, and there's actually pockets of mold in there. These two rices came from the same batch, and the difference was the way that they were treated. And they've duplicated this with any kind of substance that has primarily water-based, including just clear water, and one water became cloudy and the other one remained clear. So I want to ask you, what are our bodies made out of?
Water.
Yeah. 60% water.
That's what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Me
You're right.
too.
So I want to ask you, what do you think of you? That's a rhetorical question for you to answer to yourself, but it's something to think about. And the last thing I want to talk about is your posture. A lot of times people think of posture, it's more attractive to stand up straight and tall, but I want to talk to you a little bit about how this corresponds with confidence. When you think about the way that you would stand, let's say that if you're in a crowd, you hold back and you're kind of reluctant to join into what's happening. You're almost like, an example of it would be like leaning back too far. You're off balance, and if anything were to bump you or knock you, you would just fall right over. You would fall flat back. You can't maintain actually a balance when you're standing like that, and it's not comfortable. I mean, you're going to feel uncomfortable, and it's just not good. The same thing happens with when you lean forward. When you lean too far forward, you're also off balance, can also be knocked over. That would be an example of trying too hard. Pushing yourself upon people, or trying to force something that doesn't feel right to you. So an example of posture, obviously you don't want to walk around leaning too far forward or too far back. You want to just take control of your posture and stand up, and that's how you would feel good, and that's how others would start to see you. And I want you to think about that in the way of confidence. You don't need to put yourself out farther than you're comfortable, and you don't need to hold back, but what you need to do is stand up, take control of yourself, and then that will be noticed by other people. So I want to invite you to try to change your posture, and by that I mean physically, as well as with your confidence and with the way that you behave around other people in different situations. And I want to say that by doing that, if you will take the challenge to change your posture and stand up strong and take control of your life, I believe that you will change your life.